Hello and welcome to Token for Your Thoughts, the podcast where we sit down with the people behind the companies shaping Web3. I'm your host, Lindsey McConaghy, and today we're joined by Zaal, founder of the ZAO. Zaal, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here, Lindsey. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So today we're going to be talking all about how the ZAO is using blockchain to help artists take back control of their work, their data, and their fan relationships. But first, let's start with something I think a lot of listeners will be wondering. Zaal, you're an automation engineer, a Web3 founder, and somehow also a national ski patroller. How does all of that fit into one person's life? Do you have like one of those time turners from Harry Potter? I don't know.
That's funny. No, I love it. No, I've been blessed with a lot of opportunities, and I've been blessed with an amazing family and childhood. I spent the first 18 years of my life in the amazing suburbs of Boston. So I'm a masshole for all my sports. I was very blessed again with the sports side. We almost won a championship every 2 years since I've been born. So that's pretty wild.
Nice.
But after spending 18 years in Massachusetts, I went to college in Rochester, New York. So that was a big move for me. I had actually already started being a national ski patroller at that point. I was blessed. One of the individuals from my Boy Scout troop invited me to be a volunteer, to be a patient, basically. And I kind of got involved and just kind of kept coming back, and then got into the training and became a ski patroller about 10 years ago now, 9 years ago, which was an amazing experience because after I finished college in Rochester, I moved out to Oregon. And when I moved out to Oregon, there was a lot of opportunity to really put that ski skills to test because it's a whole different ballgame out there. I was seeing a lot more injuries than I had ever saw in the East Coast. So that was a blessing for me. And while I was at school, I was blessed to meet an amazing musician around the time I was thinking about my future, kind of figuring out. I had done a couple jobs at that point, a couple internships, and realized that the 8 to 5 grind wasn't for me. I think we all as entrepreneurs have that one moment, or we've known it our whole lives. But I had that moment after my second year, around the time of COVID as well, because they kind of just laid me off, and it was just like an internship. So I had some more time to really think about what I was doing. And I realized that that there was a lot of opportunity in entrepreneurship. I didn't realize that it was entrepreneurship at that point, but it took me a couple of years to realize that. And I met an amazing musician, realized that my math, science, analytics brain really paired really well with his more creative brain. So my goal ultimately was and has always been, what can I do to have my creative spend more time creating? What can I do to take off of his plate the entrepreneurship stuff, off of his plate the branding, off of his plate the socials, off of his plate the networking, as much as I could, so that he could thrive in just becoming a better musician. And that's kind of where everything led me into Web3, where I didn't even realize it was entrepreneurship until I joined Web3. Really, I knew I wanted to start something. I didn't realize a brand, a company, what it really was a community. And I think joining Web3 gave me an amazing opportunity to see models of good communities around me for things that I could take for the ZAO and what we would build.
Mm-hmm. All right, interesting. So that was going to be one of my questions is, you were in this community with music and artists. So where did that interest come from? If like you had always been really passionate about music growing up, or if you're like an artist yourself. So it really stemmed from your friend who was a musician and you were just looking for ways to support him?
Many different things that led to it. I didn't realize I had met him first my freshman year, which was wild. This was, a year and a half later when we caught up, we realized we had passed in the same circles. And once I met him and the individuals that I was also friends with, the three of them were part of a collective. And they were working, one was a designer, one was kind of the entrepreneur, and the other was my artist Django. And from that, it started by me being involved and just kind of seeing it in front of me, and then just getting excited, interested, wanting to do more, wanting to learn more, because I had only consumed music in my life until that point. And in general, I hadn't thought of like artists in any way, shape, or form. I'm a video game person. If anything, I was probably thinking of like how people make video games, and you can call that art in and of itself, but not like visual art or musical art or even like TV or movie art, right? But that was the first time I got a peek behind the curtain of what like creating the song was like, and from start to finish, what making a song would be like. And that just piqued my interest really, like crazy, just kind of seeing behind the curtain. And that's what got me very interested. And then when he was dropping his first song, Wide Awake, I had the opportunity I was roommates with someone who was DJing at a local bar that a lot of folks went to, and had the opportunity to introduce him, get him to get up on stage, say a few words about the song, and then have the song played on the night that it was dropped. And like for me, seeing that with kind of no music background, no music experience, not a lot of like general pop music or hip hop music person, just being able to make a difference and improve the state of where he was at by just getting myself involved in networking, really got me interested, because I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. I love hearing people's stories. So I just started to get more involved and just kind of kept putting myself in places to volunteer for different things. And eventually it became just the two of us, after a few years. And that's just kind of what got me started. And that's kind of when I got into Web3. I realized I had something already. And it was a really crazy, different environment than what I had been used to.
Okay. Right. So when you were getting involved with your friend and the music, were you looking to were you looking for like an entrepreneurship opportunity?
No, not at all. It was a buddy of mine, and I got more and more involved, and realized A, he was insanely talented, but B, he I've been blessed with a lot of different things in my life, and just hearing his story, hearing more about his background, where he's come, and how we kind of came to the same place. I realized A, I've been very fortunate, and B, I've had that fortune of being able to be put in his life to support him in different ways. So that's kind of evolved from kind of not just business, but like we were initially friends, right? So it's always been more of a how can I support my friend through building his career. And that's when I always had like started my ethos in music of I want to build, careers, not viral moments, right? We want to build up an artist so that they can have a long lasting impact and create and build generational wealth, not, get one specific moment, be signed by a label, and then kind of be put to the side, or also, have 80% or 70% of their earnings just completely taken away. So just really being um, a supporter of independent artists, because my artist was an independent artist, and I realized that was the fight we needed to take. That really is kind of what I think got me very excited about the opportunity of what Web3 offers.
Mhm. And so, was there anything particularly surprising for you about seeing how the music industry works or what it takes to get music out there?
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't know anything. I still don't know anything. But what I do know is that the world has changed in so many different ways, and the music industry has changed with it. And the advent of streaming has led to many artists feeling slighted, because the way to make money on music then it gets diminished, and CDs aren't selling, and these other things kind of had transitioned away. And I think the beautiful thing about what I immediately got excited about about Web3 was that there was another way, there was another path that wasn't, a lot of folks in the music industry tend to be more of a gatekeeping culture in the traditional music industry where, oh, I went through this hard work, so you're going to have to also do it. Pull the ladder up, mentality. And when I came into Web3, immediately I was shocked because what I had been so used to was a fight for every little thing and every little piece and everything you can and still not really get anything. Um, to like immediately just by being there, being appreciated and like wanted to showcase more and like spread more, network more. So like every single person I initially met was always like infinitely more value than I had ever had before in the traditional music industry. Which I mean, we were very bootstrapping. We still are very bootstrapping, where all of our money is kind of coming from our income, right? So I think just realizing that it's very different for the bootstrapping mentality for independent artists versus the other folks in the music industry, and to make that difference from that perspective is a big hurdle.
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And what was it like being involved? Was it very like rock and roll, like what you'd see in movies,
No, I mean,
musicians and artists starting up?
yeah, I mean, there's so many things you could say. I didn't talk to many. I was a lot more on the underground side. So I talked to a lot of folks that I knew that were more on the starting up or had been working on music for the last 3 to 5 years. And seeing that for me gave me the knowledge that there was something inherently wrong with the percentage of individuals I knew that were trying this and the results it led to. And I think that realization in working with them and working with so many, I felt like amazing, talented artists, but we kept on seeing potentially less talented artists going in being recognized in different ways, shapes, and forms because of their marketing and their business. And my artist always tells me this all the time, that there's a lot of Web3 artists, especially Web3 music artists, that aren't as good, but get recognition because they're good at selling their brand. And I've always been trying to tell them that, like, that is part of the game, right? So that in and of itself, I think, gave me like this, okay, we can do something else so that we can support the individuals that don't necessarily want to, go out there and become a rock star, but just kind of want to make enough money so that they can do this full time and be a content creator and create their music, right? Like what they want to do and be able to live off that. It doesn't have to be crazy lavish like some of the other musicians want, and kind of want the fame and everything that goes with that. And I think Web3 offers that opportunity to those individuals at a different kind of rung on the ladder of success.
Okay. Yeah, so it really gave you a good insight into the industry and the problems that artists face and issues that need to be solved, or that you saw that there's a lot of area for improvement. So when did you have the moment of, okay, let's start the ZAO? I mean, was it just gradually as you're seeing more and more of these issues? Was it a particular
So it's kind
moment?
of always been an ongoing evolution of since I met Django, about until last year. From then, it had always been kind of something in my mind, something I was kind of pushing towards and trying to create, like this big brand that could create IP that could withstand a lifetime. And I think that in and of itself has always been something that's interesting to me, is how can we create something that lasts longer than we live, I think. And music in and of itself is one of those amazing ways to see that. I mean, we always see that with musicians after they pass, that big musicians, like their music gets streamed more. I mean, even with artists, their art gets sold for more. So there's really something about that. And it always got me interested once I realized I was around it, that there was potential to make a difference as well through that music. And I think music is a universal language, which is amazing. And that in and of itself has all led me to meeting amazing individuals in Web3. I joined in about beginning of 2023. And I spent my 2023 doing my due diligence because I didn't want to recommend something to Django without really vetting it out and understanding what the space was and what it meant. So I joined the community bought a bunch of NFTs, got involved with a ton of different musicians as much as I could, tried to hear what chains, what platforms, what people were doing, what the consensus was. And it was just a mash of results, and it's kind of even hard to explain. But it all came to, I realized near the end of the year, 2023, when I had been in a couple of DAOs. I had been in an in-person and an online DAO, and I was kind of at the point where I knew I wanted to create something, but I just didn't know the right time. I had met a bunch of amazing individuals that I was involved with in a ton of different mutual communities in Web3. I had also had the amazing opportunity to start hosting a lot more things, like spaces was what we got very involved with, but then also different podcasts and the such. Just realizing with Candy Toy Box is the individual that I've been working with since this time. She was in a DAO that I was a part of where we were the last two members. And she said, let's leave this be. I had joined it at like 5 members left. There were 50 or 150 at one point during like the bull market before me. And when it was the last two of us, she was like, you know what, let's take these lessons that we've learned from this DAO and actually work on what you want to create, something in the music space, something you've been thinking about. And she's an amazing supporter. She's a mother of 3, so she doesn't really have the time to be her own entrepreneur, but she could do what I could do and more. She's the design part of all of my content and analytical and kind of brainstorming. And she honestly knows more about Web3 than me as well. And she's part of the community that onboarded me into Web3, that I've been listening to their podcast every day for the last 3 years. So she has the same kind of mentality as me, kind of coming into the space. And she suggested the name the ZAO actually herself, which is amazing. I heard it. I was like, this is an amazing idea. And I just started to get other folks involved from that point. But she's always been the design portion of everything I do. And it's been a blessing to have her, because before I had, it's a lot in the Web3 space. The beautiful thing that we get out of it is the opportunity to meet other folks with really good skills. And I think everyone in this space that's really grinding has that potential for having social capital, but not financial capital. And the ability to trade social capital, like skills at art or this or that, can really lead to being able to have that 1 + 1 = 3 mentality, where if you collaborate with someone, you create something that isn't additive, right? There's an infinite amount of things you can do with that individual that you weren't able to do by yourself with your own skill gap. So having her on my team really added to the level of what we could do. And that's kind of when we came into 2024 with the ZAO and kind of really started it in the Jan of 2024.
Okay. So did you get involved in Web3 specifically because you wanted that to be part of what you were building with music, or were you just interested in Web3 and then the two things kind of collided?
Okay. I don't know how to do this as succinctly as possible, because we could be here all day for that conversation. But it's not what got a mix mash of yes and no.
Okay.
The phenomenon that took place on January 28th, 2021 with the stock market and the stock GameStop took me by storm, because I was just interested in everything that was going on there, learning more about a peek behind the financial curtain of stocks and how they were manipulated, realizing just a lot more as a young adult who hasn't experienced a lot or looked at a lot of financial things throughout my life. Realizing that gave me the opportunity while I was working with Django to realize that there was another way. I knew of NFTs, but didn't really realize that they were on blockchain. So GameStop kind of brought me into it. My first wallet was a GameStop wallet. I got very interested in NFTs and
Okay.
learned about them because of the idea of back then there was this conspiracy theory of a GameStop NFT marketplace that came out and got removed because of different things. But again, we could be here all day if we talk more about GameStop. But that's what brought me in, and I realized through learning about NFTs from that NFTs in music could be really powerful for a variety of ways. But back then, I didn't even know that it was on blockchain. But then I finally kind of started learning about blockchain and actually jumping down the rabbit hole. And that's when I was like, okay, this could be amazing for business. And for what we need to do to succeed in what we were trying to do for the last 3 years. Yes and no. I always was thinking about it, but it's not what that sparked that kind of dive down the rabbit hole.
Okay. All right. So can you give us an overview about what the ZAO is? There are many different aspects for it. So give us the rundown.
Yeah. So overall, what the ZAO's goal is to demystify emerging technologies for musicians, to empower independent artists, to bring back their profit margins, their IP, and their data rights. And ultimately, that's what we try to do. That's the goal. That's the vision of the ZAO. The ZAO itself is a community, and the ZAO has a few projects under it. So the community is, through the span of 2024, was progressively decentralized to a DAO. And we did that through the use of the ZAO Respect token. The ZAO Respect token is an illiquid soulbound token. So illiquid means you can't buy it and you can't sell it. And soulbound means you can't trade it. And because of that, we give out our ZAO token for people participating in on-chain events, different things that we do and that we're working on. And ultimately, we also have a weekly meeting that people can come and participate in and share what they've been working on in the last week, and work in a group of 6 to reach consensus on who's done the most to further this ZAO's vision. Anything you're kind of doing in the music, art, tech space, that you're furthering kind of the goals of what we're kind of trying to achieve. That is, bringing back data, IP, and the profit margin back to independent artists. And anyone doing that can kind of get rewarded, even if they're doing it for themselves, their own art. So our goal is to give our token to the individuals that are participating the most in what we're doing. And the goal is that that token is a governance token in everything we're doing as a DAO and different decisions we make. So one of the big decisions that we've been doing recently is just adding new projects to the DAO. So we have a few different projects that we can touch on after. But the idea of the DAO is that anyone in the DAO with any ZAO respect can propose an idea, and then other ZAO members who want to manifest that idea into reality can vote on that with their ZAO respect, and potentially comment on that with their social capital that they can share as well. Right now, we don't have a treasury for a number of reasons, but eventually it would be amazing to have financial and social capital involved. But our goal isn't to do the financial capital because that's been done before in the DAO space. A lot of other people are doing that. In fact, everyone else is doing that. We're trying to do something different and really create that social capital around this community, and that spreads the ZAO IP. And that's the ultimate goal, is to empower all of the creators in the ZAO to create their own version of what we're doing. So we really want to create open source, decentralized technology that other individuals in our community can use and emulate.
All right. Amazing. And so you mentioned earlier about labels or artists, there's like a 70, 80% that it gets cut. What is the situation with existing offerings, and how does the ZAO differ for that? So is it like a lower percentage? Is there not a percentage?
No, that's a great question. So I would say that labels take a majority of the percentage. We'll just say that, anywhere 50 or more. The idea in the music industry before was you make a song, it's good enough to go viral, you get signed to a big record label. That record label, the way it works is gives you money up front that you're supposed to pay back later, that I think a lot of people don't recognize, to make your music. And the idea is that with that money, you use that as investment capital to grow your brand and grow it into something that's worthwhile for them to continue investing in you. And that works in a different amount of ways, but they will take a majority of the percentage. And then there's also a lot of folks that get their initial deal, spend it on expensive things that aren't good for their career, like cars or whatever, and then be in a position where they are in debt to this label and they kind of don't have control over anything in their career and life at that point. So that can be a big challenge.
Wow.
So the ultimate goal really is IP. And then the next thing is the profit margin. So we have a ton of different offerings. Our goal is to empower individuals, whether they want to be the entrepreneur and learn all of the pieces that it takes to bring the profit margin to them in a myriad of different ways, or someone who just wants to make music, wants to give someone else the responsibility of everything else, distribution, this, that, and the third. And we can either do some of those or facilitate other individuals in our network that are doing those capacities in the on-chain music space. And that would be at, a lower percentage. I mean, 10 or less is where my mind goes for some of those things, which is a lion's share less than 50. And the goal ultimately is, if you want to make that 10% zero, and learn them all yourselves, we would love to empower you with that knowledge and teach you how to be able to do that. And then we also are working on a couple of decentralized applications that take a percentage on transaction fees for tokens. So the goal ultimately with those as well is we're using them for music battles. So for every transaction that's made by a consumer, a portion of that's coming back to us and a portion of that's also going to the artist. So our goal is to make a percentage off of what the consumer is buying and selling and take a bit of the profit off of that for us as well as the artist.
Okay, nice. So a great alternative then that, yeah, I guess like you said, involves just having more ownership over IP and being able to retain more of their earnings for their creative product or their work. And so who can join the ZAO? Is it mainly for musicians? Is it other artists as well?
Yeah, no, the ZAO is super open to anyone. We have done different events with visual artists as well, that have joined the ZAO, as well as developers, entrepreneurs, we have a lot of community members that don't make art as well and just participate in being a part of the community. One of our community members runs the ZAO calendar. So she runs the ZAO community calendar. She reaches out to anyone that's doing anything in the space, that has a space, that has a YouTube, that has a metaverse, that's doing an event, and tried to add it to our calendar. So she kind of has taken charge of that, but she's not an artist herself. So it's awesome to have a crazy amount of different folks from a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in terms of getting involved as an artist, how does that work? Do you apply or do you get voted in, or tell us about that?
So the ultimate goal is to have that individual join our fractal meetings, which are Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern. However, we know that time doesn't work for everyone around the world, and then also some people are just not available on Monday. So with that option, we would reach out to them to come to a ZAO event, get more involved, read about what we're doing, and participate in collaborating with someone that's in the ZAO to get more involved and find a way to potentially earn ZAO tokens outside of the fractal meetings, because we do have those opportunities as well.
Okay. And then you mentioned the ZAO Respect token, which is not a typical token. What made you go that route?
I love it. I have also been blessed with a lot of amazing communities in the Web3 space. I got put in a community by a friend of mine from PDX DAO, which is our in-person DAO out in Oregon. And he introduced me to this group called Optimism Fractal. And Optimism Fractal was in its about 6th week of doing their respect game when I joined. And I kept on joining week after week, getting more involved, earning more optimism, respect, same concept as ZAO respect. And through that, I realized that from that community, I really enjoyed the way it was set up compared to a lot of other crypto communities around me. B, it was from another community called Eden Fractal that also met every week. And then C, they were both from Fractally. So we actually took a piece of tech idea, kind of, you could say, forked an idea, and took what they've been working on and what they've kind of perfected over the last 3-4 years, because they've been kind of working on this idea of how can we give value and respect to folks on the digital side. And I realized when I jumped in immediately that this was amazing for what we were doing, and started chatting with the Optimism Fractal host, and just started getting more thoughts and more involved. And that's kind of where I came up with the whole idea. We've taken it a little bit of a different route than they've done. They just do the Fractal meetings and that's it. We are using that as our form of initially decentralizing our governance and getting more individuals power to make a difference in the ZAO.
Okay, nice. And you mentioned you have community members who aren't artists, one person organizing the calendar. What other ways can they get involved?
Yeah, so there's a number of different projects that we have started, and they can also suggest their own. But some of the projects we're working on right now, the first project is Wave Wars, which is an on-chain online music battle. That's one of the projects we're actually building a decentralized application with, where individuals can come and bet on those battles, and a portion of those earnings will go to the artists. You can get involved with that by participating in finding artists, by helping us with design, by helping us with events. There's a lot of different ways to get involved on that project. We also have ZAO Festivals, which is our in-person arm of the ZAO, where we go to different crypto conference satellite events and share about the brand and the IP. And we also have a few other projects that we're working on, one being student loans, which is a theme coin with the idea of bringing student loans on chain. And we've been working on that with an amazing team that we have a bunch of things going right now. So that's where we need our most participation, because we've been kind of working on a bunch of different ideas, and we actually have our first loan tank this upcoming Sunday, where we're doing a mini Shark Tank pitch competition with our community, where individuals can pitch their ideas and earn a portion of the allocated treasury we've created. For student loans, we utilized Base and the Flaunch platform, because Flaunch gives creators a percentage of the transaction fees that happen back and forth. So 1% of the transaction fees go to the creators, and we've taken a portion of that to go to our community as well. And that community pot is going to be a portion that's going to be given this Sunday to our best idea, and just kind of with the idea of bringing more awareness to student loans, and bringing more attention towards it. So we've actually recently talked at a couple different universities, and a couple of university classes, and just getting more people aware of the issue and the opportunities there are on chain for figuring out how to manage those student loans differently.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the event. Are these mainly showcases, or are you trying to help raise awareness about the ZAO? How do they fit in?
Yeah, for sure. So we had our first event last year, ZAO-PALOOZA. It was at NFT NYC, and it was a performance. So we had 12 musicians, 6 of them that were new to Web3, 6 of them that were Web3 musicians within our communities. And we were able to showcase a performance, which was awesome because we had an amazing team around me, and it was amazing to get them together. And then from that, we went on to get ready for ZAO-CHELLA, which is the shirt I'm wearing right now,
Oh,
which
cool.
was a blast. We'd been playing that for a lot longer, and we had 17 different musicians perform. We also had a showcase with visual artists. We had 100 different visual artists showcase, as well as 25 different communities that we had gotten involved with throughout our couple years. So that was our biggest kind of big shindig, kind of put it all together, tried to bring as much of the on-chain music community together under one roof on one day for art. That was Miami Art Basel last year. And it's been a blessing from that because we've made a lot of things from that, and we're still working on different pieces of content from that event. We actually created a song with all of the artists that were down there, with 10 of the artists that had performed at that event. So I'm really excited to be able to showcase that and share that out with other individuals in some of our projects that are coming up.
Oh, awesome. What would you say is the most memorable moment from the ZAO
It
event so
was
far?
that specific moment, was listening to the
Yeah.
cipher more than anything, not the events, not anything. It's always the in between moments at these in-person events that make a difference. And one of our artists brought down a mini studio, and one of the nights, Django, my artist, performed on our cipher. And it was unbelievably memorable, not just for me, but for everyone there. Because we were all heard it without the backing track, and we're like, what is he doing? And then
Ah,
we heard it with the track, and we were like, oh wow, he hit that. And he's the last artist on that cipher. So it's really awesome for me to, after 6 years of working with him, to be able to really get some awesome artists and awesome individuals in the space really know how good Django is. That for me was the best moment, because it was kind of like everything coming full circle, and me being able to start to give him ways to situate some of those things that I've been doing for a little bit on his own, and start to manage his way through connecting with some of these musicians at a different level that I can.
hmm. Oh, very cool. Can you tell us about some of the artists that you're working with?
Sure. I'm working with a lot of amazing artists. Django W is my main artist that I've been working with for the last 6 years, who is working in a style of experimental hip hop. We also got Hurricane with the soul music, with a lot of amazing beats. Hurricane Ike, cooking up everything. He's actually our founder of Wave Wars as well. Came up with the idea and has been started learning code about 10 months ago, and has been making this D app from that since, for the last 10 months, pretty much
Oh,
nonstop.
wow.
And he releases music every single Wednesday, or a piece of content every single Wednesday for the last 6 or 7 years. So it's been amazing working with him. I also work with Adabody, who helps me with ZAO festivals, was a lot of the AV tech and pro behind all of everything that happened in all of our live events. And he has more than 25 years of experience in music and making music, which is more time than I've been alive on this earth. So I'm very blessed to have him on our team. He's an unbelievable musician, and you just have to hear his music to believe it. There's nothing else to be said there. And then also Clay Jean, the trap violinist, can't forget about him. He raps on top of his violin beats and has been playing violin since he was 3, and is an unbelievable performer that I saw perform for 2 hours. One of the first times I saw him perform, and it was amazing, to blessing in everything, in every way, shape, and form. And then we were blessed to have him perform at ZAO-CHELLA with us as well. So it was amazing to see him perform a couple more times down in Miami.
Wow. What a great mix. We definitely have to check them out. Um, all right. So switching gears a bit here, it would be great to hear more about what it's been like building a project in Web3. Has anything like gone completely off the rails or gone wrong that you can share about and hopefully laugh about now, or any kind of major learnings that you've had during this journey?
Um, there's a lot of things that you could say in many different ways. Um, I guess the first one that comes to mind is for one of our performances. One of our big things and ethos has always been get everyone involved, give the opportunity to a lot of individuals and see if they rise to that challenge. And in that, one of the things we had been more lax about is contracts. And some individual that came to our event for ZAO-CHELLA took advantage of that and didn't did whatever with the content that he was recording at our event. And unfortunately, it couldn't be recovered. So we lost a lot of footage that was given to this individual. We gave him resources from our kits and different things. So because of that lack of contract, we realized that there were different challenges that came with that, and that backup is potentially always needed. So that was one big lesson we learned, was as amazing as it is to work in a informal, formal capacity with a lot of individuals for certain aspects of what you do, even just the basic written, simple contract would be better than nothing. I mean, to be honest with you, if we had an amazing contract and everything and he did what he did, we probably wouldn't have gone to court over it or anything. But having that opportunity and that legal back end would be beneficial. So that's something big that we learned, that we, as much as we like to get away from the norm in Web3, there are pieces of that that are very important to make sure you continue to follow.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that sounds really frustrating, losing content like that. But yes, good lesson, like you say. What's something you would say no one warns you about running a Web3 business?
No one worries about the expectations. I think I've been blessed with not having the crazy expectations put on me that other founders in Web3 have. But when you put your heart and soul into something and someone criticizes that, it can be really challenging and frustrating. And it's 100% going to happen in the world as it is, but it happens that much, 10 times more potentially in the crypto space because A, it moves so fast, and a week be like a day, but then B, it's just, it is in and of itself, every single individual in the crypto space is here to make money. And because of that financial game that everyone is playing, there are individuals that can't recognize that or have those challenges of realizing that certain individuals have a different angle or want or approach than what they initially appear to be. And I think if we all take that mindset into our heads when we jump in and think like, always be wary of every single individual, and just start with that, kind of like always having that awareness of like, okay, if I'm being safe and secure, these are the steps I would need to take. If this person is malicious, where would I be compromised? I think that opportunity, just having that in the back of your head in this space is always good because of the crazy amount of challenges people have with custodying your money. And we've had a lot of people in our community that have even had messages sent to them from known associates that had been hacked from something that they had seen from another known associate, and that kind of wormhole. So it's definitely always, even if you're getting a message from someone you know, just always vigilant, always being careful in this space. Like that in and of itself will save you a lot more times than you'll offend someone. If you offend someone for being safe, like you probably shouldn't be working with them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good advice. So looking ahead, what's next for the Zaal? What are you hoping for this year and beyond?
Yeah, for sure. So one of our big things is releasing Wave 4s. We're currently on the Solana testnet. We'll be hopefully on the mainnet in Q2, which is a huge piece of the puzzle that we're doing. We're also working on a few decentralized applications in the back end. and just pieces of tech that we believe will help musicians in our community further their on-chain reputation. And what we want to really build is, how can we help these musicians build their on-chain reputation so that when things are available to them in the future, they can jump on them and be ahead of these opportunities instead of behind. And one of those big opportunities we're working on right now is that anyone in the ZAO can participate in one of our songs that we're creating with the amazing MIDI punks. Songs of Eden is an unbelievable artist who has had a bunch of different songs that he's been collaborating with all people all over the world. With one song, I believe having over 50 people, having them all say hello or good morning in their own language, which was amazing. Now he's creating a collaboration with the MIDI punks and the ZAO that anyone can share their voice on, and it's awesome bop that I'm very excited to be able to be in a. We're doing a mini competition where we're seeing who can get more voices on the song. So I'm excited to start getting them more involved in what we're doing and get more involved in what they're doing, and just start releasing more art, more content, and more of everything that we've been doing behind the scenes up front for everyone to be able to take advantage of.
All right, very exciting. I love that. That's a very cool idea, this collaborative nature of creating a song. That sounds really exciting. All right, well, this has been such a great conversation, Zaal. I've really enjoyed getting to know more about you and the ZAO. Fantastic concept, a great offering for musicians and artists. Share the links to how people can connect and follow you and the ZAO on socials. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, all of our links are under the ZAO.com-Nexus. If you want, if you see that, everything's under the ZAO.com for us. But all those links, as Lindsey said, will be down in the bottom. I'm going to also share those musicians as well, so you can take a look at their music, because they are all wonderful, amazing musicians. And I'm just blessed to be able to be in their presence and to be able to showcase them and show them off.
Amazing. Well, be sure to check all of that out. Thank you, Zaal. So that's it for today's episode of Token for Your Thoughts. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow the podcast and stay tuned for more interviews with the people building Web3. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye. Thank you.